And this time round, you get to realize that many of these are the reasons as to why the roads are kept clean in the morning. Those ladies you find, for those who actually use Mpelere, Gayaza, Entebbe Road, you'll find there are different laborers or workers. Many are not attached to KCCA, others are actually attached to different local governments. So I'm actually crushing on all the casual workers, especially the women, those who clean the roads very early in the morning and make sure that we have a clean city or a clean town wherever the different town councils are. To me, I feel those are also our heroes in that regard, because we have so many dusty roads in Uganda, and keeping them that clean in the morning is something that is quite powerful, because they wake up very early. At around 6 now, many of them have started doing their work. So wherever you are, we crush on you today.
They actually start way before 6, because when you're on the road at around 5, you're going to find them cleaning different sections of the city. Good morning, Miss Chantal Olive.
Good morning, Olive. I hope you are well today.
I am well. How are you?
I am very well. Glad that it showered a little bit. I'm just hoping that it doesn't get as cold as I anticipate during the course of the day. For selfish reasons, I didn't carry a jacket.
Me neither. Me neither. I'm hoping that it will be cool weather, but one that doesn't necessitate us to carry cardigans and jackets.
Right, and also does not necessitate us to switch on the AC and then the fan and, you know, getting uncomfortable throughout the day. Hopefully it is relative so that we are able to, you know, to move our days comfortably. Today being Woman Crush Wednesday, I'll still side with Sonko and say to the ladies that wake up every single morning to ensure that our roads are clean, today we crush on you. But also to the ladies that work hard for their families every single day, irrespective of whether there is a man or not, but you're waking up and you are making sure that you're providing for the children and for the family. You are doing a wonderful job, and I hope that whatever you put your hands to is blessed and multiplied for you to be able to take on that role that you are actually doing. But today, still on matters casual laborers, KCCA is anticipated to pay these casual laborers after 5 months of not getting paid. So it is going to be a good day and a good week.
After the speaker actually ordering them to do so.
Yes.
But my concern is, will the speaker, or rather, will the speaker's directive be followed? You know, the worry is, at times, these are things that actually take time. The speaker may come out and say, today,
tomorrow, make sure they are paid.
Tomorrow, make sure they are paid.
And then KCCA comes up with saying we do not have money, money has not been released.
Because the issue is the money. And KCCA says they actually contracted these workers through different entities.
But have they been paying
and
the
there
entities?
are some entities that have paid. And there are some entities that haven't paid. Why? Because there is less money in the treasury for KCCA to cater for some, and they are waiting for that money from the ministry.
So why do we recruit when we don't have a payment plan, or when we don't have a plan with which we are going to use to pay these people? I believe that goes back down to the planning bit and making sure that we make sustainable plans. I cannot employ you when I don't have a plan on how I'm going to pay you. It doesn't make sense. So doesn't that bring a question to how our entities are being run by some individuals?
I think it does. You remember the other time when the Deputy ED was here of KCCA? He actually said he had suggested, which I want to believe was a harsh suggestion, where he was saying, for those who are not paid in time, they had actually suggested that they look out for they get employed by the other contractors. It's like, let them go and get money from the other contractors as they await for their money that they worked for from the others. Because KCCA does, it's more like we have 4 entities, Chantal entity, Monica entity, and the Sonko entity. So in a space where Sonko is not able to clear, you go and get attached to Chantal for the meantime, as we wait for the government to put
That's
out
a lot of disorganization, but there is also the issue of unions. The workers say that KCCA is forcing them to be a part of certain workers' unions, yet they already have their own. So that's another problem they are facing. KCCA says be part of, let's say, Chantal and Sonko union, and they're like, but we already have our own unions that we are under. So why are you forcing us to move from one union to another?
Which in my opinion does not make sense. Do you know why?
Why?
Because what is there a vested interest that KCA has in those particular unions that they're forcing them to join?
That's a very
that
good
would
question.
be a question to put forward, yes.
That would be a very good question. And of course, Chantal, being a lady, I will throw this question to you. What do you think about the tabled bill in Parliament that says only people that have health issues should be the ones to use the services of surrogate mothers? Otherwise, if you can be able to carry a child on your own, the law, they are seeking for there to be a law that bars people that just want other people to carry babies for them from attaining that service.
We have better things we can put into law, we can put our focus on, instead of thinking about surrogacy. It should be like number 100 or 1000 on the list, in my own opinion, because one, I am Chantal, an individual. I know what I want and how I want it.
And I can afford it.
And I can afford it. I don't see why it is a problem. And also, whoever chooses to be a surrogate, they are not being coerced into being a surrogate. So in my own opinion, putting factors like culture and all those aside, it is my right to do what I want to do in that regard. As a Ugandan, my demands are really high. Talk about better roads, talk about better school facilities for USE and UPE, talk about better hospital facilities. Then when we are done with that conversation and you feel you have settled that properly, then you can have the conversation on why I should get a surrogate or not.
Well, I understand why there needs to be a law regarding surrogacy because, for instance, surrogate moms are not protected. As of this day, it is the hospital which decides how much the surrogate mother should be paid. So I think that there has to be laws to protect this entire service. But to say that you're going to limit the service to people that to only people that have health issues, I think that's where we are losing the ball. Because if the surrogate mother, like Chantal said, is not being coerced, and if the mother that wants the surrogate to give her this service can afford it, then we have to have an open mind and conversation and not just limit people. But yeah, we
can empower these ladies to negotiate better, in my own opinion, to negotiate better for themselves when they are, let's say, approached to become surrogates. Short of that, we have bigger things that you can really put into law and concentrate on in the moment.
And more bigger things to discuss about in Parliament than that, because of what is happening in Parliament in the past few days.
I don't think it's a smaller issue.
No, it's not a smaller issue, but it's not something we should
alongside this, there was also the adoption agencies also seeking rights and laws to protect them. So I don't really, because family is important to many people, and I think it's not a smaller issue. Of course, there are other what you'd call bigger issue, but it depends on who is speaking and who is listening, really.
You know, you can have a list of priorities, and the list has 10 priorities.
Well, as Parliament,
then there is number 1 and number 2 and then number 10.
Because trust me, according to the anger that is in the public right now, putting that across right now is I don't want to even call it a waste of time. I think that is a discussion, like you've mentioned. It's not a waste
of time.
I think that discussion should be focused on maybe the rights of the surrogate mothers to protect them, really. But as a country, there is something really big before us.
It is these things we think are small and shouldn't be given so much attention that at the end sometimes become a bigger issue, and then we still call up our leaders and ask them why they never created laws to protect certain
just like the bigger issues
marginalized communities. So we shouldn't look the other side and say it's a waste of time. But anyway, moving on, we now launch you into the news as of this minute, and we will start with the President, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who has received credentials from 5 ambassadors newly accredited to Uganda. The ambassadors presented their credentials yesterday at a function held at the State House in Entebbe. The ambassadors include His Excellence Fatima Yesenia Fernandez, Ambassador of Venezuela to Uganda. I beg your pardon, Her Excellence Fatima Yesenia Fernandez, Ambassador of Venezuela to Uganda. His Excellency Mauro Massoni, Ambassador of Italy to Uganda. His Excellency Major General Paul Chisesa Simuli, Ambassador of Tanzania to Uganda. His Excellency Brigadier General Jules Ndihokubwayo, Ambassador of Burundi to Uganda. And His Excellency Nicole Adamkova, Ambassador of Czech Republic to Uganda. During the function, President Yoweri Museveni welcomed the ambassadors to Uganda and promised to work with them to strengthen cooperation between their respective countries and Uganda. Moving on, Kagadi Grade 1 Magistrates Court has remanded a 38-year-old driver attached to Kagadi District Local Government over reckless driving, which caused the death of 28-year-old Muhoro protester. Court, presided over by His Worship Edward Kayuchi, yesterday heard that Stephen Tibihikira, 38, attached to Kagadi District Local Government and a driver to LC5 chairperson Ndiwami Yosia on February 26th, allegedly knocked dead a boda cyclist identified as Tuhaise Majezi, a cyclist in Muhoro Town Council who had joined his colleagues to demonstrate over dilapidated 31-kilometer Muhoro Ndaiga Lake Albert Road. And in other news, a team of UN experts have summoned Uganda's government officials to explain the country's involvement in prolonged conflicts and wars in Democratic Republic of Congo. Key questions were on army deployment and allegations of squandering minerals and issues of refugees. The meeting held at Foreign Affairs Ministry in Kampala, head of the delegation says the report will guide the UN Security Council on the next move over DRC conflicts. The Public Accounts Committee of Parliament has given the Commissioner in charge of Animal Health, Dr. Anna Rose Anemun, up to Friday to produce documents on how they distributed pestidipetitis PPR vaccines, where vaccines worth 256.6 million shillings were not accounted for. The chairperson of the committee first threatened to hand over Dr. Anna to CID to account for the lost doses as per the audit query in the Auditor General's report. However, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Agriculture, Major General David Chomukama, admitted the department erred and accepted to take responsibility on record. But as interrogation intensifies, he said in this query there was no loss incurred and therefore he is not going to pay the money. The ministry was also interrogated by the committee why it failed to implement activities of about 8.4 billion shillings and yet it had received the money. Committee members said the ministry was supposed to procure 2 million doses of foot and mouth disease, which they did not, yet the country is grappling with the disease. The query of the supply of 200 motorcycles to support district extension officers at a cost of 2 billion shillings also caused debate, especially the single-sourced procurement, the unit cost of a motorcycle given its model. Accordingly, each motorcycle was bought at 10 million shillings. Well, that does it for the local news. Now, Chantal Olive takes us through the international news.
Well, crossing over internationally, World Food Programme said an aid convoy was denied entry to northern Gaza by Israel's military, preventing the first attempt by the UN agency to deliver aid there since February 20th. World Food Programme said to avert famine, there must be a road access to Gaza's north. Hamas says ceasefire negotiations are ongoing, but the ball is in the Israeli court, while the U.S. says obstacles to a truce are not insurmountable. An Israeli bombing has killed a Hezbollah fighter, his wife, and their son in the southern Lebanese village of Hola. U.S. envoy Amos Hochstein has given a verbal proposal to come on the Lebanese-Israeli border with negotiations to begin during Ramadan, says Lebanon's Prime Minister Najib Mikati. At least 30,631 Palestinians have been killed and 72,043 wounded in Israeli attacks in Gaza since 7th October, while the death toll in Israel still stands at 1,139. Moving on, results are starting to roll in as millions of Americans cast primary ballots on Super Tuesday, one of the most important dates in the United States presidential election calendar. Votes are taking place in approximately 15 U.S. states, including Texas, California, and one territory, American Samoa. An additional mail-in race took place in Iowa for Democrats. The Democratic President Biden has already won in Vermont, Virginia, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Maine, Massachusetts, Arkansas, Alabama, Colorado, Texas, Minnesota, and the mail-in Democrat primary in Iowa. The campaign hopes a strong Super Tuesday showing will quell concerns and protests over his re-election bid. Former President Donald Trump notched primary wins in Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Maine, Massachusetts, Texas, Alabama, Minnesota, and Arkansas. The Republican presidential frontrunner is hoping for decisive victories over his last remaining challenger for the GOP nomination, former United Nations envoy Nikki Haley. Moving on, Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo has said he will not assent to an anti-gay bill until Supreme Court rules on its constitutionality. Earlier, the Finance Ministry warned that billions of dollars in the World Bank funding would be lost if it became law. Passed by MPs last week, it imposes a jail term of up to 3 years for identifying as LGBTQ+ and 5 years for promoting their activities. The Supreme Court challenger says there was no quorum while the bill was passed. Gay sex is already against the law in Ghana and carries a 3-year prison sentence. The proposed tough new legislation, the Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill, was backed by both Ghana's main political parties. But lawyer Richard Delasky, who has filed the application with the Supreme Court, says there were not enough MPs in the chamber when the vote took place. And lastly, women in rural areas suffer substantially greater economic losses from the impacts of climate breakdown than men in developing countries, research has shown, and the gap is likely to widen further. Households headed by women in rural areas lost about 8% of their income to heat stress than male-headed households, and their reduction in income when floods struck was about 3% greater than the loss to men, according to data released by the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization on Tuesday. The difference, taken across the world's low and middle-income countries, adds up to about an extra $37 billion lost to women from heat stress and $16 billion extra from floods each year. The researchers estimate a 1 degree Celsius increase in long-term average temperatures is associated with a reduction of about a third in the incomes of female-headed households compared with those of male-headed households. And that does it for climate news and what is happening internationally.
Well, thank you, Chantal. Now, here on Good Morning Uganda, we not only give you the news, but we also go below the headlines. But speaking of headlines, Jerome Paul Sonko will be taking us through the press.
And well, with the press, we kick it off with the new vision, which is highlighting experts will renew debate on MPs electing president, as NRM says ready for dialogue on electoral reforms. Also, Miss Uganda among top 10 Miss World finalists. Read about that. And religious leaders oppose jailing and fining drunkards. Why is that? More of it is in the New Vision. Court martial drops charges against Kaihura's co-accused as students risk repeating over error by a supervisor. Then will Mpuga be pushed out of Parliament Commission? The bigger question in today's New Vision. Then also the Daily Monitor, IGG opens probe into Parliament over graft. Besides that, the shock investigation of corruption into the August House comes at a time when sources say the Financial Intelligence is also conducting a parallel, much quicker investigation, reportedly looking into allegations of money laundering. Now, besides that, free at last, DPP drops charges against General Kaihura's men. Then also, schools stuck with old teaching materials as examinations near. Then elsewhere, homes avoid a congested bedroom for nice sleep, as government plans to extend electricity to 4.5 million people. Then Uganda pushing for oil pipeline deal with Tanzania, according to what the minister has revealed. That is with the Daily Monitor. Now moving to the Daily Nation in Kenya, state travel ban that never was. Audit General, the audit circular by head of public service also limited delegation sizes for government officials. Then more pain as new ID and passport fees take effect as pay rise for 36,500 promoted teachers in Kenya. Then there's also a report regarding spending. Members of Parliament increase own budget by 2 billion Kenyan shillings as court told of how woman plotted to kill her husband in Matters crime. Lastly, from our press review, the Citizen newspaper, new twist in tussle for gold mining project. As in the Rising Woman perspective, Laura says why you need to keep on moving no matter what. Then also, Zito says not satisfied with Zanzibar reconciliation. Then why circulation of 10,000 shillings notes has increased and what it means for Tanzania's economy. Now lastly, from the political platform analysis, how Mwinyi oversaw switch to market economy. As also the Citizen newspaper highlights, simplify issues of housing loans according to a call by the civil society and other non-government organizations in Tanzania. That is what our press review has highlighted this morning.
Well, thank you, Joram Paul. Now, today being Women Crush Wednesday, which also comes within the International Women's Day week, we give you Adele as we take a short break.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
If I'm not the one for you, you've got to stop holding me the way you do. Oh, honey, if I'm not the one for you, why haven't we been through what we have been through? It's so cold out here in your wilderness. I want you to be my keeper, yeah. But not if you were so reckless. If you're gonna let me down gently. Don't pretend that you don't want me. I'll love the water under the bridge. If you're gonna let me down gently. Don't pretend that you don't want me. I'll love the water under the bridge.
the roads are kept clean in the morning. Those ladies you find, for those who actually use Mpelere, Gayaza, Entebbe Road, you'll find there are different laborers or workers. Many are not attached to KCCA, others are actually attached to different local governments. So I'm actually crushing on all the casual workers, especially the women, those who clean the roads very early in the morning and make sure that we have a clean city or a clean town wherever the different town councils are. To me, I feel those are also our heroes in that regard, because we have so many dusty roads in Uganda, and keeping them that clean in the morning is something that is quite powerful, because they wake up very early. At around 6 now, many of them have started doing their work. So wherever you are, we crush on you today.
They actually start way before 6, because when you're on the road at around 5, you're going to find them cleaning different sections of the city. Good morning, Miss Chantal Olive.
Good morning, Olive. I hope you are well today.
I am well. How are you?
I am very well. Glad that it showered a little bit. I'm just hoping that it doesn't get as cold as I anticipate during the course of the day. For selfish reasons, I didn't carry a jacket.
Me neither. Me neither. I'm hoping that it will be cool weather, but one that doesn't necessitate us to carry cardigans and jackets.
Right, and also does not necessitate us to switch on the AC and then the fan and, you know, getting uncomfortable throughout the day. Hopefully it is relative, so that we are able to, you know, to move our days comfortably. Today being Women Crush Wednesday, I'll still side with Sonko and say to the ladies that wake up every single morning to ensure that our roads are clean, today we crush on you. But also to the ladies that work hard for their families every single day, irrespective of whether there is a man or not, but you're waking up and you are making sure that you're providing for the children and for the family. You are doing a wonderful job, and I hope that whatever you put your hands to is blessed and multiplied for you to be able to take on that role that you are actually doing. But today, still on matters casual laborers, KCCA is anticipated to pay these casual laborers after 5 months of not getting paid. So it is going to be a good day and a good week.
After the speaker actually ordering them to do so.
Yes.
But my concern is, will the speaker, or rather, will the speaker's directive be followed? You know, the worry is, at times, these are things that actually take time. The speaker may come out and say, today,
Tomorrow, make sure they are paid.
tomorrow, make sure they are paid.
And then KCCA comes up with saying we do not have money, money has not been released.
Because the issue is the money. And KCCA says they actually contracted these workers through different entities.
But have they been paying
And
the
there are some
entities?
entities that have paid. And there are some entities that haven't paid. Why? Because
A joke of your friends.
You are,
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. But what you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief, and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government, designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, a beautiful morning. Thank you so much for sticking with us here on Good Morning Uganda. I'm Olive Monica Najuma. And once again, welcome to this Wednesday where we crush on women. Earlier on, we were crushing on women that serve with Kampala Capital City Authority, the ladies that clean our roads. But as a woman and as a mother, I also crush on women in places of work, different places of work, whether it is a market, whether it is a radio station, a media house like UBC here, or a hospital. I crush on you, especially the breastfeeding